Good morning, Open Source Security Con. Hello, my name is Emily Fox. I'm the Portfolio Security Architect at Red Hat. I'm in our product security organization. I'm going to talk to you today about a lot of different things, but most importantly, first off, it's an honor to be here in Atlanta, the city that showed the world how principled, community-driven action can actually forge a more equitable future for all. And that spirit of principled, community-driven action is the very bedrock of open source. It's what gets us up in the morning and doing those commits every day. But we find ourselves at an inflection point. Our principles of autonomy, transparency, and collective action are all being challenged by new regulations like the European Union's Cyber Resilience Act and new rapidly evolving technologies like generative artificial intelligence. We must consciously apply these principles to security practices and efforts no matter how we're engaged, whether it's in the community, in regulatory and standards bodies, or even within our own organizations in order to navigate these urgent challenges. So how do we do this? Well, we can look at the principle of autonomy and its sibling, self-determination. Self-determination today in technology is being realized as digital sovereignty, and it's not a buzzword, despite what most people might think. It's actually the natural evolution of zero trust principles in today's day and age with geolocation and regional politics trying to push their boundaries. Within open source, though, we actually already have technologies that can support adopters and organizations in pursuing these outcomes. Confidential computing and attestations are just two of those such topics. And within the open source community specifically, we have projects like Confidential Containers, Coco's Trusty, as well as Keylime that are emerging enterprise readiness and allow you to verify system security is intact before you actually deploy your data and your workloads into those environments. So let's look at transparency next, or we can try to, because there is no bigger box of obscurity than what you actually see with artificial intelligence. We need to demand transparency, quite frankly, and as engineers, we need to be practicing it and coaching others on how to do that. We need to ensure that our use of AI coding assistance doesn't create vulnerable, unmanageable code slop. Otherwise, we're just making it cloudy with a chance of vulnerable meatballs riddled throughout our spaghetti code. And yes, I worked really hard to get that in there. Good news though, the community is building an answer. There's the model card standard that's being developed and the emergence of AI system cards. If you haven't heard about them, they're awesome. Ask about it at the Red Hat booth. These are both direct ingredients into transparency in the age of artificial intelligence, allowing you to understand how these models and systems are built and actually what they're capable of doing. And within open source, we all know our work is built on the work of many others. It enables collective action for global change, and a lot of people seem to forget that. But we also forget that it creates a really long tail of dependencies that we all have to manage. And it can complicate cryptographic migrations before Q-Day or the day that a cryptographically relevant quantum computer can break RSA. The crypto agility challenge before us is going to surpass the difficulty in the 2-decade-long transition from DES to AES, and we're actually going to find out that's not the biggest worry for us. It's the widening skills gap between available engineers and the new technology understanding to integrate it into existing systems. It's a growing concern, but we have projects in the ecosystem like SigStore, who is considering post-quantum cryptographic plugins, or Kubernetes, which now supports MLChem for most of its core components. And then RPM 6.0 was just released that has support for multiple signatures per package, allowing you to verify both classical and post-quantum signatures. As open source participants, adopters, and creators, we all have a collective responsibility to each other and to these adopters of technology. How are you going to apply open source principles to secure our future and preserve digital rights amidst all of these challenges? And these are just the ones we know about today. Are you going to be investing in securing the open source commons? This requires everyone. It's developers, it's project managers, it's documentarians, and most of all, security engineers to show up to the projects and help out. Beyond that, are you going to collaborate to solve real-world problems within shared ecosystems, such as secured agent interaction, or perhaps contribute to the OASIS data provenance standard, which aims to build trust in artificial intelligence, reflecting that healthy competition is built on common outcomes and interoperability, as we see with RFCs and specifications, and is part of the key founding principles of the cloud native community. Or perhaps you're going to engage. You're going to apply open source principles to public policy discussions and ensure a secure and open future, preserving these digital rights for everyone. More eyes make all bugs shallow, but participation is key. Your participation. By recommitting to these core principles of transparency, autonomy, and collective action, we can build a more secure and resilient ecosystem for everyone, protecting digital rights for all. Thank you. Please stop by our booth.